Hello photographers, I am back in my photography studio to go over the Aperture camera setting today. So in today's video, I'm going to briefly go over all the camera settings you need to be aware of. I'm going to give you a demonstration of Aperture here in my studio. And then I'm going to explain to you what is Aperture. So make sure you are subscribed and stay all the way to the end so you can learn what Aperture is. Okay, just a refresher. As you learn how to shoot in manual mode, you need to remember the camera settings: ISO, aperture, shutter speed, and white balance. And today we are going to go over Aperture. If you missed my demonstration of ISO, I will have that video linked down below for you to review. Okay, so now let's get into the demonstration. So in today's demonstration, I'm going to use an ISO of 100. I'm going to use a shutter speed of 1/100, auto white balance, and I have various studio lights in here, as well as an aperture of 1.8. And just so you can verify my settings, here you go. So as you can see, 1/100, shutter speed, aperture of 1.8, and then ISO of 100. The white balance is set to auto. So let's take a photo with just this setting. And throughout this demonstration, I'm only going to change the aperture. I will not change anything else. My subjects here today are a candle, and then I also have a background candle, and you'll see why during the demonstration. So as you can see with those settings, which is what I recommend starting with as your base or whatever the lowest your camera can go to. But as you can see, the photo is kind of dark, but as you can see, the candle in the background is very blurry. It's completely blurred out. So you have the candle that's up front where I had my camera focused on is completely in focus. So let me adjust the aperture up to 8 and let's see what happens. Now, whoa, like when I adjust the aperture to 8 and not adjust any other setting, now the photo is completely dark. Let me go down to an aperture of 4 and let's see what happens. So now you can see the photo is still pretty dark, but you can see the subject once again. Now let's adjust it one more time. This time we're going to go to an aperture of 2.8. Now, as you can see, it's still darker than the 1.8, but we can help with this situation by adjusting the ISO or fixing the external lighting. But since we learned about ISO in the last video, I'm going to adjust the ISO. So I'm going to take the aperture back up to 4, and I'm going to adjust the ISO to 400. And remember, the ISO is your camera's sensitivity to light. So if I do that and take the photo, now you can see the same photo that was an aperture of 4 from before with a 100 ISO was really dark. Whereas now it is still not to my liking, but I can actually see everything in the photo. Now let's go back up to 8 aperture and also increase the ISO. We're gonna increase the ISO to 2000. That's crazy. Let's see what happens. So as you can see that the photo is brighter because the ISO has helped with that. Because remember before with the aperture of 8, the photo was completely dark, it was completely black. But increasing the ISO to 2000, I'm able to see, because the lighting is a lot better, but also this, since it's at an aperture of 8, this candle in the background is actually more in focus. Now I want to show you another aperture even higher and increase the ISO. Now remember, when I increase the ISO, It can, depending on your camera's capabilities, it can make things grainier as you go up in ISO. But for this demonstration, I want to show you what happens when you go to an even higher aperture. Let's go to an aperture of 22. So that means you really need to kick up the ISO. Okay, I have the ISO at 16,000. This is really insane. Let's check this photo. So as you can see, it is still kind of dark. It would have been beneficial for me to have a flash or move the lightings that are, over here closer to the subject. But as you can see, this candle in the background is almost completely in focus. So let's go over what is aperture. So what exactly is aperture? Aperture is the opening in your camera's lens. So if your opening is a bigger opening, that means your aperture is going to be a smaller number. So it's going to be at f1.8 or something of that nature. And that means since it's a wider opening, you're going to get more light into your camera and your photo is going to be brighter or have more light in the photo. Whereas when your aperture is a higher number, that means your camera lens is actually going to have a smaller opening, which means less light is going to get through your camera and your photo is going to be darker. But there's another aspect to aperture. Aperture also controls the depth of field in your photo. So when the aperture is a bigger opening, so that means a smaller number like f1.8, and you're getting more light into your camera, you're also going to have a smaller focal point. That means, as you saw in the photo, candle in the front was all in focus, whereas the candle on the back was out of focus. As the aperture gets bigger in number and less light is getting through the aperture hole, more things in the photo are going to become in focus. So you have two things. If you want to blur out things in your background, you're going to want to have a smaller aperture number with a bigger opening in the aperture, and vice versa. So hopefully you have a grasp over that. And if you have questions about that, leave that down below in the comment box and I will be glad to help you. Okay, photographers, I really hope you enjoyed this demonstration and understanding what aperture is and how aperture and ISO work together. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. It is free for you to do so and it helps me to provide more and better content to you in the future. If you're already a subscriber, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. Make sure you share this video with your friends, family, and your photography social network. And if you're interested in supporting my photography business, you can head on over to cutedexplorer.darkroom.com and to purchase a print to help decorate your space. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day or night wherever in the world you are. Bye.